Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes podcast.
I'm Albert Berg,
I'm Tony Southcott.
and we're coming to you this week with our review of an older movie, Chinatown.
One of the early Jack Nicholson flicks, Roman
It-
Polanski directed. Pretty damn interesting movie, although I think Netflix conspired against me for watching it.
oh yeah?
Yeah, every 5 to 7 minutes, it would just completely stop streaming. Like,
They,
every other show or movie I tried to watch was just fine over the past, 3 days. And every time I started this one, it was just, stopping, completely going back. And, I'd have to get out of the movie, restart my PS3, go into it, and then it would just do it again over and over and over again.
that is very odd. I encountered none of those problems.
Yeah, and when
Um,
you're talking about a 2 hour and 10 minute movie, that gets pretty tiring.
yeah, I can imagine. Maybe it's a problem with the PS3, Tony. But we're not here to review the PS3 or Netflix. We are here to review Chinatown. Man, I gotta say, Tony, starting off, this might be one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. I
Well, Roman
mean,
Polanski was, not counting his personal life, was pretty damn talented at all this.
is he gone? You said was.
Oh,
He's still alive,
he,
right?
yeah, he's still alive, but, there's definitely some controversy there.
Okay. Well, this was, I think, way before any of that was going. This came out in 1970 something.
Yeah.
Uh, so and it
The only thing that
looks just beautiful. I mean, it's just heartbreaking how great the colors and the lighting and the framing of every single shot is. It just, oh wow.
Yeah, especially for the technical effort of having to do that in 1970.
Exactly right. Like they didn't have. I'm sure they had a lot of the technology, worked out at that point because Hollywood had been around for a while. But still, they're always developing things. They're always coming up with new things. And it looks like a film that could be released in theaters today. There's nothing about it that's dated or you're like, oh well, they
The
do that
only
much
thing
better
that's
now.
dated isn't about how it looks, it's about how it sounds at times. Sound design has come a long way since 1970.
Now, maybe my speakers are too poor to have accommodated how the
I'm,
sound
I'm more
design was, but
talking
I thought
about,
it was okay.
punching noises and things like that. Just the weird noises that they throw in there.
But man, this movie, and it was interesting too, because I'm in sort of the middle of a private detective kick at the moment. I'm listening to The Long Goodbye by Raymond Chandler, and now I hear, I get to this, and it's another one of these detective stories, in very much the same vein. Similar type of character. I've read some things that were trying to call this a deconstruction of the detective genre because he's successful and, he's not like the hard on his luck detective, but I feel like that the character is basically your standard PI detective character in that he has a code of ethics, he has, you know, he's a, dogged pursuit, he has his own set of morals even if they're not exactly like what other PIs were. So it's a very, very straight, in my mind anyway, very straight adaptation of that whole hard-boiled aesthetic from the 1940s, captures the 1940s so well and makes them look as good as the 1940s are ever gonna look on
Yeah.
film. And it wasn't ever. I almost respected that it wasn't a deconstruction, Tony. That they weren't like, see the private detective thing, yeah, Like they weren't ever making fun of themselves or making fun of the genre.
Yeah, it was pretty much played straight through. I mean, you could eventually say that happens to him. Maybe later he's hard on his luck, but definitely right now he's on top of his game.
And yet, and I gotta come to the bad side, man, this movie's a downer.
Yeah,
It's such a downer. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, I guess I won't spoil the very ending, but, oh
I didn't
man.
expect it. I
It was
definitely did not
unexpected, and
expect
it
it to be
wasn't
that.
even like this big climactic. I mean, it felt a little bit climactic, but it just felt like it kind of was like resigned to go the way it was. Like, yeah, I guess this is how we have to go because this is how the world. It wasn't even like a fun downer. It was just it just sort of shuffled off at the very end. In my mind,
Yeah.
anyway, that was how I saw it. Is just I think this is a great movie, but it's something that I almost don't really want to watch again.
Yeah, I looked at like I had to restart it, and it was like, there's only 4 minutes left in this movie. How are they going to wrap this all up? And it was rather abrupt and rather didn't it didn't leave a good taste in my mouth as far as the actual finish.
I think that I understand why they did it that way. I feel anyway that what they were going for was to say that the you actually can't beat the rich and powerful when you're the little guy. Uh, the sort of like the over at least that's the lesson the movie's trying to teach us, and I can appreciate where they're coming from with that, but it just did not make for a fun experience. Especially because it did play everything else so straight, and you thought it was going somewhere else. It's not exactly a twist. You get some twisty things at the end, but you're expecting, man. I mean, you have your, your main character, your private eye guy, played by Jack Nicholson. He's smart. He's on it. He's like cracking through the whole movie. He's on top of things. He's shrewd and like working his way around the system and everything, and you think, man, this guy's got a plan. He's gonna work everything out. It's gonna work out, and then it just falls apart.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for him. I wanted it to work out for him so bad, Tony.
I guess that's sort of like one of the perks of Roman Polanski. He's not afraid to tell a story that could hurt some people.
Yeah.
Because not every time the good guys are going to win.
Well, the interesting thing too, especially in the context of this being in 1970, was the big revelation towards the end. I won't go into super specifics, but I wonder how that plot point of the identity of how everybody was related. I wonder if that was more shocking in the 70s. I mean, it was pretty shocking today, but it
Yeah, that
seems like
entire scene was shocking, just the way he handled her, and the revelation itself.
and how it all concluded too. Again, I don't want to get into specific details because I'd really like for you guys to watch this because it is worth at least one watch.
Yeah.
Maybe just stop it before the 10-minute mark and imagine a giant climax where everybody lives happily ever after. But it's so beautiful, and the detective work is really interesting. You've got like that little bit they have with the watches where he puts them under the tire of the car so he can tell when the guy was gonna leave, and then they had to go and change him because the watches would run down. Like that was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was sort
It was
of
like
like
full on
because
tricks of the trade.
Do what?
Full on tricks of the trade for these guys. It was awesome.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's something that a real PI would do, but just seeing him like pop open his glove box and having a whole glove box full of pocket watches that he can put under the tire of a car so that when the car goes, it will crunch over the pocket watch and stop it so you know when the person left and you don't have to sit there and watch them the whole time. I was like, that's genius. And it works for the time period, too. You're going to rack up some
Sounds like
bills
an
for pocket
expensive
watches,
method,
but
though.
that's expenses. You can charge your clients for that.
Yep. Because he charges like $35 a day plus expenses plus a bonus at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So I just like imagine like, what is this $500 bill for pocket watches? It's like, listen, you can't scrimp on pocket watches, ma'am.
Yeah.
At the end of our Ant-Man review, I mentioned that I thought that Jack Nicholson has a little bit of a Leonardo DiCaprio look in that movie. Do you agree or disagree with that? Am I completely off the rails on that one?
I think you're a little off the rails with that.
I thought his haircut was so Leo, and like
them.
like the way he delivers it seems like if they were like contemporaries. I know that Leo and Jack Nicholson. I think Jack Nicholson's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway, point being, they have been contemporaries at the very least. And
they were in the Departed, and that was an excellent movie.
But if you could get Leo now back into that era and put them next to each other in the movie, I think that you could very easily sell them as brothers. There was just something about, and you can really see how both of these guys are just stellar actors. Even though his character doesn't have, he's kind of a very basic character, very, he's the hard-nosed private eye. There's not a lot of really deep emotional stuff going on with him, but he uses what he has and he plays that character in a way that's really interesting. Where in other hands, that kind of character could have been sort of stale. Like, I don't care about this guy, but he makes you care about him.
Yeah. Oh, it's also one of the only roles I've ever seen him in where he was kind of calm and measured. Like every other time that you've got Jack Nicholson on the screen, he's always just a little bit off, a little bit crazy, a little bit doing like the over the top Jack Nicholson thing.
And he's so
So
good. For me, I know that he does those roles and he's done them a lot, but for me, it wasn't like I looked at him and like, all I can see is the Joker doing this. I really
yeah,
like he's good enough where I believed him in this role and forgot about all the other things he's ever done and all the craziness that he's done and just said, no, this is the guy, this is the character that he's inhabiting, and that was just really well done. And the
definitely
mystery
was.
was really cool too. Like all of the way the clues and the plot unfolded with, things that they seeded into the beginning of the movie that started to pay off. I mean, just a master class in how to set up one of these PI type, running down the. I lost my train of thought there, but you know what I'm saying. Like he's running down the mystery. He's trying to figure out who's doing what. All of your like no scene is wasted. No frame is wasted. There is not 1 second of this movie that does not serve a purpose. They go everywhere and do everything and say everything they say in a way that is serving to the story. It is gonna come back. It's gonna pay off. It's gonna matter. Um,
And that's pretty impressive for a movie over 2 hours.
yeah, it's not. It's like you couldn't. What would you cut out of this movie? I mean, I don't know if there may be some shots or whatever that you could trim out, like make it a little shorter, but there are no. There's no fat here. There's nobody just going around and you're like, well, what did that have to do with the end? No, every single bit, all of his. I thought the interesting thing to me too is that the movie's called Chinatown, but almost none of it takes place there.
Yeah, like maybe 7 minutes or something like that.
But it's this looming presence over. What is the PI's name? I've been.
It's like J.J. Geddes.
Oh, Giddis, yeah, Geddes, whatever
Geddes,
his name
yeah.
is. You are correct. Weird name. It was. I can't believe I forgot it because I kept thinking of the
Yeah,
newspaper guy, Geddes. I think there's a Geddes newspaper guy. There's Gettysburg. That's the place where they fought a battle, Tony. I know about that one.
I'm aware.
Anyway, um, so
And
he's
had a
going around.
speech.
What?
And they had a speech there.
Yes, they did. And then once they had the speech there, they wanted to know. It got so popular that they had to give it like a place to deliver the mail, and that's where we get the Gettysburg Address, Tony. I'm sorry, that was so bad. I crack
I'm
myself
not
up.
sure
I've been
it could
cracking
be
myself
less
up all
related to
morning. You have no
Chinatown
idea. I've
than
been
that.
editing like tabletop simulators, let's plays, and like putting in little bits that I just like cackle at. Like, this is funny. This is funny. Um, what was I talking about? I totally lost my train of thought. I was gonna talk. I forgot what the guy's name was, and I forgot. Oh, I was talking about Chinatown and how that is this sort of shadow that falls over his character, in that he has just like he's gotten out of almost like trying to be a good person because of all the stuff he saw in Chinatown, and now you see him and he's sort of, he's a little bit jaded and he's trying to put that all behind him. He's trying to become the kind of person that doesn't worry about the sort of downtrodden and the people, because he realizes it's not going to help. That the people who are way down in the gutter like that are just going to keep getting stomped on. And yet he gets pulled into this. And again, like it's that whole shadow of Chinatown in the back of his mind. He's and they don't even go into real specifics, but he used to work for the DA. He quit. I can imagine that it was because things weren't being done right, that he was upset with how things were or were not being prosecuted, and people were
Yeah,
being
it's
let
just like
go.
a whole deal of corruption and everything else.
And so when you finally get back to Chinatown and all that stuff comes together and all of those themes kind of play out, I mean, it's just as depressing as it is, it's an almost perfect story. I'm trying to think of something to criticize in the movie other than it made me feel bad, Tony. It made me feel bad about things that are bad in the world and how people are bad. I don't want to feel
I
good about how people are bad.
I feel like you talked about how everything fits or every second matters. I feel like that they could have probably taken about 15 minutes out as far as just the lingering scenes. But the movie was pretty enough that I didn't care. Like, I know a lot of people that wouldn't be able to take this just because it was a little bit slower. It's not bombastic in any way. Like, he's such a calm character. He's always collected. Like, there's a very few moments where he's losing his cool. So I could see some people having issues with the pacing. But other than that, like, for what it is, for a PI story, I think you're right. It's about as perfect as you're gonna get.
And there will be definitely other PI stories that are more fun than this one were. And it's fine to have a fun movie. I'm not trying to down on that, but I don't as much as I was sort of bummed by the ending, I don't know how you can go anywhere else as an honest storyteller. I mean, having set up all the stuff that you set up in this narrative, that's the ending that had to happen, really.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't want it to happen, that was kind of the point. And I thought that was a really powerful. It's interesting to me because I've been thinking a lot about honesty in filmmaking and storytelling in general, in relation to the Asylum lately, because I saw the new Mega Shark vs. Colossus movie, which I know that is a weird comparison to make, but stay with me. Um, in those movies, it feels like that they want to have it both ways. With they want to like give lip service to environmentalism and say we can't kill this shark, he's important, but like they never actually do anything in the movie to back that up.
Yeah.
They want to like feel like that they're good people, but they still are trying to have the big blockbuster creature movie where the creature gets killed at the end and actually nobody cares about environmentalism. And ultimately they hurt their message, if that even is a message, more doing that than they would if they just didn't have it at all. It's
So
better
you're saying
not
that
to say
Godzilla did
something
it
than to
better?
say something badly.
Yeah. Godzilla did it better.
They stole a lot from Godzilla in that movie. I'll talk a little bit about Mega Shark vs. Colossus later. Did you say we had a question related to the movie, Tony?
Derek Springer. He's co-host of the Ugly Couch Cast and co-host of Here Be Spoilers, which could have been our name back in the day. His question is, after Nicholson's nose cutting, how badly did you want a pastrami sandwich? With or without brown mustard?
What?
Do you need me to read it again?
No, I heard what you said, Tony. I'm trying to form a context in which that question makes any sense at all.
Because it was like flopping like a piece of pastrami.
Was it?
A little bit.
Okay. I thought he just like got the like nicked it a little bit on the edge.
That was not on the edge. Do you remember, like, whenever Faye Dunaway's character is cleaning it up?
Yeah.
Like, that thing was nasty. That's like an inch right up the middle of the nose.
I did
Just
not make a
sliced.
connection to a pastrami sandwich. I can tell you that.
I only did because he told me that before I had watched the movie.
I
So I was like,
did.
oh, it is kind of like just cutting lunch meat.
I did think that it was
Also, if you don't
interesting.
have the brown mustard on your pastrami sandwich, you're wrong. I'm sorry.
Brown mustard's good,
Yeah, brown mustard's awesome, especially on pastrami. That's why they come together.
but I thought that it was interesting that he had that bandage on for a lot of the movie. It almost felt like it was a little bit of. It looked almost like a beak. I thought that was a kind of an interesting visual callback to some of the Maltese Falcon, and also made him. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's where my mind went. I was like, huh, yeah, you could kind of make that connection. And I also thought that it was interesting that he was sort of disfigured. You don't usually see somebody. I mean, for the most of the movie, he goes around with that bandage on his face.
I bet that got annoying just every day. Strap this to your face. It's probably 90 degrees out.
It could have been. Yeah, man, I'm dealing with the heat here in Florida. That is no joke.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give
it's been
y'all a
like
pro
70
tip.
mild here.
Do not 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Not a good time to go running. I just want to lay that out there.
Get on your treadmill in the AC.
I don't have a treadmill anymore. I
Ah,
ran on it too hard and it broke.
oh, that sucks.
I got it for $10, so it doesn't suck that bad.
Uh, I've broken 3 elliptical machines because
When?
I want to just go like a boss and just go as fast as I can, and that's not the point of elliptical. You're just supposed to turn up the resistance, have a nice little workout. Instead, I want to be like a savage, and all of a sudden bolts pop off the side, or I broke the weld in 2 of them.
Yeah, get a treadmill or something. Sheesh, are these your ellipticals? Are you buying these, or did you like go to the gym and
These were
break
like
theirs?
these were garage sale buys, like what you got.
Oh, okay, that's a little different. Those have probably been used for a while, and probably weren't that expensive to begin with. So
So now I just use the track down the street because if I break the track, there's something wrong with me.
yeah, like I've been lifting weights and I haven't broken any of them, but that was a thrift store find as well. They're like all covered in rust, and they're actually two different weights. So I lift the heavier one with my left hand, like I figure like that'll strengthen up my weaker arm. That's interesting. It's amazing how high your heart rate gets just lifting weights. Like you start out, you're
Yeah,
like, all
like
right, yeah,
it's
I'm
just the
good, you know.
strain.
What?
It's just a crazy strain. Right now, I'm just doing body weight stuff. You do 60 squats, even if it's just body weight, and that's gonna get your heart pumping really hard.
I'm not doing 60. I do three sets of 15 with a weighted squat. So I'm
Yeah.
holding a 25-pound dumbbell, and then you do the squat 15 times, and then repeat that 3 times. Um, it's cool to feel myself like getting stronger. There's probably the hardest one to do when I first started. I almost strained my back. It's called a get up sit up, and
I've tried those. Those suck.
you have one weight between your legs to keep you counterbalanced, and then you hold another weight above your head and like sit up with the weight continuing to be over your head, and that's just difficult.
Yeah.
But it's gotten a lot easier as I've done them, so hopefully I'll get an ab or two here before too long.
This is our effort to not turn into congealed blobs, especially for Al because he was working a completely. I, you were moving boxes all day, so you had some natural caloric burn and some strength building and all that sort of stuff built into your job. And now you're at a desk too much, and I can tell you're not used to it like I am.
Yeah, my butt gets sore after a while. I have to like stand up and move around. Sometimes when we're doing meetings, I won't be sitting down. I'll be lifting my weights, just not as part of the main regimen. Just be like, to get my heart pumping. Because a lot of probably the most difficult thing is actually just being in one spot for a long time. And sometimes I just need to get that blood flowing a little bit because I don't know, your head just gets a little bit like stuck in jello, and
Yeah.
you have to prise it out however you can, either by going outside and walking around for a couple minutes or by lifting
Well,
weights. It's
if
a
you exert
weird
yourself
problem
for
to
a few
have.
minutes, like if you exert yourself, like every 25 minutes, I take a 5 minute break where I do a quick little run, a quick little whatever, just get moving. And it's like having a cup of coffee. Like it just wakes you up.
I don't do it every 25 minutes because sometimes I'll get like zeroed into something and I just like I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done. But I do try to do in between, especially if it's not something where I'm sitting at the desk. If I'm watching something or waiting on something, I'll definitely be working, trying to continue building up the muscles and just stay moving around. So
Yeah.
the human body was not meant to be sedentary, Tony.
No, definitely not. We're meant to run. We're meant to do all that. It's amazing to me that like we I've been running for 2.5 weeks now, like without missing any days, and doing 2 weeks of anything on a regular basis with your body just picks up on what you're doing, and it'll let you do whatever you want. Like you get so much stronger at it within just a few weeks. Like those first few runs suck. The next few are just like okay, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I could probably go another mile if I wanted to.
The biggest problem here, I don't know how it is in Colorado, but I started off talking about it, but the heat, man, you really got to watch that heat because it's not like you can't keep going strength wise, but your body, like even if you're just walking, you're just sweating so hard and
Yeah,
directly in the sun, and that is difficult to deal
that's like
with.
heat stroke level stuff. You got to be real careful. Like
So
I was watching the Broncos play Miami Dolphins once, and on the field it was 115 degrees with 100% humidity.
wow.
That would be horrible, especially because you're sitting there in like 35 pounds of gear, like just dealing with that and hitting men that are 6'7" and all that. It's just
I
too much.
I can't
Like we're
imagine that.
we're used to like 80 degrees and it being pretty warm, but never like intolerable up here. Every once in a while you'll get like a 95-degree day, but it's dry. There's no humidity. Like this entire week has been less than 80 degrees and perfect. It's been such a good summer. It's been a nice, cool, rainy summer. We're not used to that. Looks
I
like Ireland up here. Like I was up in the mountains this past week, and oh man, it looks so good up there right now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I saw that you posted some pictures from that trip. You got out on Saturday, or was it Sunday?
It
And
was a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
you just went for a while. How did that go? What did you guys do?
Well, I was having some sleeping issues and everything, so I didn't go camping with my family, but I went to the campsite and we all met up there. So I got to spend the day up at their camp. I didn't have to deal with any of the setup and all that because my dad likes to make it pretty much like a Hilton up there. Like we got this 20 by 40 tarp that we set up, and we used all plumbing parts to build the thing and just drive it into the ground. And in Colorado, the weather shifts really, really fast, especially up in the mountains. Like you're guaranteed pretty much a little afternoon rainstorm. I didn't expect to have like a hardcore thunderstorm just hit us. And we're just sitting there, we're talking, it's getting a little bit cold, people are trying to ignore it. And this ghetto rigged contraption we made for our giant tarp to keep us out of the rain, well, that didn't quite work out whenever it picked up and launched the 12-foot pole that's keeping the center of it up and slams it into the ground 2 feet from my sister, who is very, very pregnant right now. Like, it would, like, 2 feet to the left, and it would have literally slammed right into her belly. It was scary. And so I jump up, and I'm holding on to the top of the tarp, and it's starting to drag. Like, it's trying to pull me off the ground because of how violent this wind is. Like, and I'm just holding on. My dad's grabbing more tarps. We've got, like, this entire network of carabiners and everything just strapped to the ground. We're nailing it to everything. Like it was insane. By the time we got done, it looked more like a spider web than anything else.
I was gonna ask, have you heard of tent stakes, Tony?
We used tent stakes. We used 8 tent stakes to hold that thing up.
And it all ripped all of them out of the ground.
Yes, that's how bad this was. 7 minutes later, it was sunny.
So it was raining at the time as well.
Yeah, it was.
You got the
it was
wind
starting
and the
to
rain,
hail
so
a
the
little
wind
bit.
took away your rain thing, and you got rain down, and then the sun came out and the wind went away.
Yeah, all within the course of 7 minutes. Like it was insane. Like I don't think I've ever seen a hailstorm move through that quickly.
I'm a little bit paranoid about the wind myself, Tony, because it is not a ghetto rig. I've been wanting one of these for a long time. It's one of those, like, sort of set up tent gazebo things, like permanently, that you set up in your backyard.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted, not always, but I've wanted one of those for a long time. I finally got one, and it freaks me out every time we get a strong windstorm because it says you're not supposed to leave it up in, like, high wind, but unless I know a hurricane's coming, it's not easy to take that thing down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really a lot of work to put it up, and I can't imagine how difficult it would be to have to pull the whole thing down, because you can't really do part of it. Like, they haven't set it up where you can just, we just take the top off. Like, no, you have to, like, remove the cone on the top and take that fabric off, and then you can take the other fabric off, and maybe you can leave the skeleton up, but, I mean, I'm not looking forward to if we get hit by a hurricane.
I think you're in pretty much everyone's camp with that one.
Well, yes, I'm just saying that particular chore would be
Yeah.
annoying. Obviously, the hurricane in general is just bad, but just that's an extra thing I have to do in addition to boarding up my windows and maybe dealing with power outages for several days. Hopefully that won't happen. We've been, ever since Ivan, we've been pretty much okay, so fingers
Well, you're
crossed.
on like the interior part, like on the Gulf rather than the Atlantic coast, so you probably don't get near as many, or you get the fallout, but not the main direct hit.
So was Louisiana on the coast, and they got Katrina, Tony.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen that often.
Okay. It happens way more often than you think. It is not like the hurricanes are only hitting the outside of Florida. They come in here really frequently and form in the Gulf. Or maybe not, they don't form in the Gulf, but they'll like strengthen in the Gulf and come at us from there.
Yeah.
So we get our share of hurricanes. All those hurricanes that hit Mexico, they have to come in the Gulf of Mexico, Tony.
Yeah, or the one that hit Houston.
Yeah, in Cuba, like 90% of the places that you hear that get hit by hurricanes are coming in the Gulf. Not 90%, but in Florida especially, like a lot of that stuff around there is coming through the Gulf of Mexico. It's not like we get a free pass because we've got the outside of Florida protecting us.
I'll just say you get less than some areas, but more than others. Like Colorado, we have to worry about tornadoes, and that's about it. And that's only on out east. Although there was a tornado in the mountains the other day. That was really bizarre.
Apparently, we're in a sweet spot where we really, like, right around here doesn't have hardly any strong tornadoes. Like, a few miles, like, closer to the coast, we'll get them. And then I guess further inland we'll get them. But something about how the airflow pattern works, we don't get... I've never seen a big tornado, Tony, ever. Personally, I mean, I've seen videos of them, but I've never been in person. And like, I've heard people talk about the freight train sound, and I've been in some bad storms. Been like, oh, is there gonna be a tornado? Is there gonna be a tornado? Like, I'm kind of excited for it at this point because I've never seen one, but I have not.
The weirdest thing about tornadoes is like the color of the sky, because the ones that I've been in, or the near ones anyway, it just turns like green, and you definitely hear like the freight train sound. The ones that that I was actually in were a little bit further away, and it was still scary. It was the one that destroyed my truck with hail, caused like $7,000 in damage. But like I don't know, that sort of weather's just insane. My dad was in a building. He was working on a firehouse, like restoring an old firehouse, and they went on lunch and a tornado hit. And by the time they got back, the place had been destroyed. Like if they would have had their lunch in that place, he would have been in the building when it collapsed.
Wow.
My
That's
great
scary
grandpa was
stuff.
actually killed in a tornado in Arkansas.
Stay safe out there, people.
Yeah,
The moral
be
of this
careful of
story.
those. The That was a pretty scary story for my dad though. But he was driving like a V10 Dodge dually truck, like the heaviest thing you could pretty much have before you get to like semis. And he just turned away from the wind and started driving as fast as he could, so that all the debris would hit the back window instead of the front window. And like that, like you're seeing cars literally getting pulled off the road, and he's just gunning it trying to get away. That's a story he likes to tell.
I I
How his
I've never.
Dodge truck saved him in a tornado.
I gotta say, I don't recommend this movie because it's not a good movie. But if you, one of the best like visual representations I've ever seen of a tornado is the found footage movie that came out a couple of years ago. I'm forgetting what it was called. Man, had it's the trailer had the air raid sirens and that was really cool. And Into the Storm, that's what it was. The
Isn't
movie
that the one with
sucked.
like Robert Redford or something?
No, that's a different. The Robert, that's a different. I forget what that one's called.
Different
Uh,
storm. Yeah,
yes,
that's on a boat.
but Into the Storm was a pretty lame movie, but had some great tornado effects. I mean, really just like showed how horrific it would be to be in a tornado, to have a tornado come over you. Like it, I thought it was that part of it was pretty legit. I just hated the
Yeah.
movie.
They don't like my mom's not scared at all. She grew up in Oklahoma. Like they would just go out in the yard and start taking pictures of the tornadoes.
I mean, that seems like a bad thing to not be afraid of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I live
especially
near
when
the
it was her
water and the
grandpa.
ocean, but you gotta respect the things that can kill you and not
Yeah.
like go poke them with a stick. Ah, take a picture.
Yeah, especially when it was her grandpa that was the one that was killed by one. And those air raid sirens, I don't know what was up with the ones in Greeley, Colorado, but they were weird sounding. They definitely weren't like just the standard siren. There was some weird like pulsing and strange stuff going on with those.
I love that sound in a movie, Tony. Not a lot of movies get the chance to use that, but whenever you hear that, like that just is such a cool, creepy, like unnerving sound.
It
More
definitely
movies
is.
need to have air raid sirens in them. I've
Yeah.
determined this.
I've heard some metal songs that like have those in them to like introduce the story that they're trying to tell, like nuclear sirens and everything. It's kind of unnerving. But I'm
Speaking
also
of,
like the type of guy that'll watch those like this is what would play on your TV in the event of nuclear war and stuff like that, so I get a little paranoid about it.
speaking of the
Like,
stuff that would play on your TV during nuclear war, Sci-Fi is having the best week ever this week,
oh yeah?
leading up to Sharknado 3, which I think is coming out tomorrow, Tony. Their world premiere on television. And I have been watching all of the bad shark movies that I can get my hands on.
So it's
They
a
had
normal week.
Mega Shark versus Colossus, which I was so hyped up for, and I
Yeah, you can
almost like I
see Al's
missed.
hype for that trailer on our YouTube
That
channel.
trailer is amazing. All right, that robot throws that shark into orbit and it hits a satellite, and the satellite spins around and cuts across the moon. That's awesome. The movie
You
was
just hit one of those like
disappointing.
Reagan satellites, the Star Wars project.
The movie was so disappointing because it. I don't want to recap everything. I did a whole like little video of it you can go watch, but they had so much chance to do some really interesting stuff by like bringing in sort of now the world knows about Mega Shark and believes in Mega Shark and they have to deal with it, kind of like the Godzilla movies had. Eventually there's like Godzilla Defense Forces and like Godzilla shooting down planes and special stuff that was built to deal with Godzilla and all the kaiju, and they were
Yeah.
going in that direction at the beginning of the movie, and then they just chopped that storyline off and just go back to there's just a bunch of running around for like an hour. and shooting at the mega shark with the battleship, which never ever works, and then, you get your big climax at the end, and by the time they got there, I was bored. So disappointing.
Maybe it's just too many sequels.
No, okay. Well, it could have been a better movie, and I'm still excited for Mega Shark, Tony. I'm still a fan of the franchise. I thought Colossus was a great, cool monster that just didn't get used very well, or, like, at all. But then, I mean, you talk about the Asylum, it's just a roll of the dice with them whether it's going to be a good movie, which is why I'm probably going to watch Sharknado 3, even though I haven't liked the first two, because Sharknado 3 I could think this is great.
Could fix the franchise for you.
Possibly, but the best proof of that is the other shark movie from the Asylum I saw this week, which is Three-Headed Shark Attack. I haven't finished watching it yet, but what I've seen of that is awesome. They have this like office building that they're trying to pass off as some kind of underwater research lab. And
so do they have like a quota of shark movies they have to hit every month?
I don't think it's every month, but probably.
At least 3 times a year there's like a new shark movie from the Asylum.
Oh, definitely. But I mean I
3
hated
of our 6 productions involve Mega Shark.
I hated Two-Headed Shark Attack. I just like that movie was it was just bad, and I was like, but I went into Three-Headed Shark Attack. I was like, I don't know what this is gonna be like. If there's gonna be a three-headed shark, and that movie has some of the best Asylum action I've seen in any it's up there. I'm probably not quite to the level of like Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies, but I mean it's way up there in my list. It's sort of up neck and neck, probably even a little bit ahead of Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus from what I've seen so far. Again, I haven't finished the movie yet. Had to go to bed last night. Got up and was working today, but I'm super stoked for whatever's going to come next in that movie. So roll of the dice. Every time it's a roll of the dice, Sharknado 3 could be hilarious and awesome. Unlike Sharknado's 1 and 2. I didn't like
Did
it.
they
You
come
guys
up
are
with a
fine to have
better
liked them.
tagline than Nuff said?
Do what?
Did they come up with a better tagline than Nuff said?
They did not. They did not. I can't say it because it's a swear. But they did not.
It just seems like there could be so many more clever things to say in a tagline for a movie about flying sharks.
I mean, the second one was called The Second One, Tony. Like, they went downhill with that. So, yeah. But I also...
Still the same main character?
Do what?
Is it focusing on the same people in the second and third?
Yes. Yes, they even bring back... I don't think the second Sharknado had the one chick who was younger than the guy who's working for him in the bar, but she's back for the third one now, from what I've seen of the trailers. Unless that's just a misdirection and they're pulling footage from the first one, is the word I'm trying to say.
I wouldn't put it past him, but I'm sure she's not that hard to hire.
Well, you'd think that about some characters that didn't show back. They brought back for 5 minutes in Mega Shark vs. Colossus. Why? Just why? That's all I have to ask. Why would you have to kill off my favorite characters from the third movie, which is my favorite movie? I don't care what you say, John Jones. It's the best one.
That reminds me, did you ever see the trailer for the live-action Attack on Titan?
Yes, I did.
It just, like, those things remind me so much of Colossus.
Well, in Japan, they called the movie Mega Shark vs. Great Titan, Tony. That was zero coincidence going on there.
Yeah, the Asylum's not very shy about their ripoffs.
I will say, though, one movie franchise that has not improved, Sharktopus, continues to suck it up. I figured out what they're doing wrong, Tony. I'm going to make a separate video about this for a thing that we're hopefully going to be doing soon. But I figured out what it is that I really hate about the Sharktopus movies. And the thing that I hate...
Other than insulting you for liking it?
Okay, well, that's part of it. But I realize that that's a symptom of something greater. That these are movies that are made very cynically. And I understand that some people are going to take objection to this because I'm a fan of the Asylum, and I know that they're just throwing crap out there hoping that people buy it, but in an Asylum movie, you don't get the sense that every moment was engineered to pander to some viewer. And for some, like, there was something about Sharktopus that, like, there wasn't any sort of, like, vision there. It was just, like, whatever we think is going to be the most, like, the most interesting, most sucking you in thing for people right this second is what we're throwing into this movie. That had no theme. It just, like, if they thought of a joke, they threw it in there, like, somebody's gonna laugh at this one. And at least with the Asylum, whether it's good or bad stuff, you get the sense that somebody put that in there because, like, you know what, it would be cool if happened. It would be cool if this happened. And it was something that they were into. I never have gotten the sense that the people making the Sharktopus movies are actually, like, excited about the Sharktopus. Maybe that's just me being jaded, but I just cannot stand those movies. They're so, like, looking at themselves and thinking, well, this is stupid. The people who watch this are stupid. Let's see what kind of things stupid people will like, and we'll put that in there.
What's the company that makes those?
I don't know. It's produced by Roger Corman. I don't know what his production company is.
You think with him being like kind of the king of B movies that he would be a little bit more caring about that?
Well, it's not. He's not directing them though, Tony. So I don't know if that's a direct
still,
thing.
if it's his production crew, like,
I
you'd think that would translate over a little bit.
I had a weird parenting moment watching Sharktopus versus Whalewolf though, because speaking of those pandering moments, they have a sexy nurse in that movie for literally no reason, and I mean, like, so much no reason. Like, she's made up like as much of a pinup as she could possibly be. And I'm watching this, and she's on screen, and AJ wanders into the room, and he's just, like, looking at this sexy nurse character. And I just got the feeling, like, all of it, I didn't really, I'm fine with attractive females and stuff, but I was like, do I really want him watching this? Do I really want him watching this just blatant objectification of this, of women, and, like, that serves no purpose at all? It's just, again, just pandering to people's basest possible instincts. So, like, I turned it off. I was like, no, I don't want to expose him to that. I'm sure he will get exposed to that. I'm sure that eventually he'll be into women and all that stuff, and that's cool, but, like, I do not want to be planting that stuff in a 3-year-old mind, especially because he's really, really, like, getting a lot sharper these days with what he's picking up. And yeah, that's a whole thing as well.
Yeah, especially because you said he's starting to, like, kind of become a negotiator, manipulator, and everything. You don't want him to be like, TV back on, nurse, nurse, nurse.
I hope. Well, I said I didn't say manipulator, Tony. Although I'm sure he would stoop to that if he thought it would get him his way and he could figure it out. But the thing that he's picked up on lately, he is a negotiator now. Because sometimes he'll say like, go swim in the big pool. Go swim in the big pool. Oh, okay. And we're like, no, we're not going to swim in the big pool. And instead of being like, oh, okay, he says, in a little bit, go swim in the big pool in a little bit. I'm like, no. And he's like, in a little bit. Everything. Like, it was just his birthday, and he wants it to continue to be his birthday. So he's like, go get presents? Okay. And we're like, you're not getting presents till next year. And he's like, in a little bit, get presents. He picks up these phrases too, and it's really neat because he'll use them. Like, once he picks them up, he uses them a lot. And his other one that he's been doing a lot was should be around here somewhere. So you'll ask him like where something is, and you're like, and he'll be looking for something. It may not even be around. It may not exist in the area that we're talking about. But he goes to the thrift store. He's like, look at Thomas toys. I'm like, I don't think there are Thomas toys. He's like, look at Thomas toys. I'm like, where? Where are the Thomas toys? He's like, should be around here somewhere. Should be around here somewhere, Daddy. I'm like, they don't have Thomas toys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is not Ant-Man.
Go watch our review of Ant-Man, by the way. That's a good movie.
Yeah, definitely a good one.
Not speaking of terrible movies, I did want to bring up the trailer for The Revenant dropped online this week, Tony.
Yeah, I finally saw it.
Gosh.
You were all excited during one of our meetings the other day, and I was like, oh, okay.
I
mean, then I finally saw it, and I was like, oh, crap.
I'm like, I'm thinking about it, and my salivary glands are producing extra spit, Tony. If I don't close my mouth, I will start drooling over how great that trailer was.
Yeah.
I mean, and I am on record as having had some reservations about Birdman, okay? I felt like it was confused in what it was trying to say, and Anyway, it was a beautifully shot movie, and there's a lot of technique that went into it. But just on the strength of this trailer alone, I am so hyped for this movie. I
Yeah, you
want it
got
to come
Leonardo
out like now.
DiCaprio. You got Tom Hardy. They're all mountain men. Like, I'm not sure where this is actually taking place, but it definitely looks cold and bleak, and it just looks so good.
How unfair is it that this movie, The Hateful Eight, and Star Wars are all coming out on Christmas Day? What am I supposed to do, Tony? I
Oh,
have to go. My family's not going to accept me going to the theater for 9 hours. All right? They're not going to be okay with that. I might be able to get away with one. How am
well,
I going to
at
turn
least
away
one of
from...
those is going to be a .5 episode, so you have to go to one for work.
What's
You
going
know,
to be at point 5?
one of those three.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get you in for one of them for sure, and then it's on you to get the other two recreationally.
Well, we might talk about all of them. I mean, at that point,
Yeah,
maybe...
it could just be a new week of it, like just all .5s for like 4 episodes.
point 0.5, point 0.6, point 0.7. I have to come up with new numbers.
But yeah, like the shot that really convinced me of it, like everything else before it had me super excited. But then you see this long shot of just DiCaprio like crossing a giant field, and it's a continuous shot, and you see the camera start turning, and he pulled out his gun and shoots a guy off of a horse, and just everything looks so perfect in that.
Are you talking about the shot where he's on the horse himself?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
where he's
that
like
is
riding.
just from a technical standpoint. I'm like, how did they get what? How did they do that? Like,
Yeah,
are they driving a truck next to the horse? Is it on a rail somehow? Like, how are they staying up? So, like, my brain just goes there. Like, how did the camera do that? How are they making it stay up with them? I understand that it's possible. Obviously, they did shoot it, but like that must have been insanely difficult to capture.
I bet you that one rig was pretty damn expensive.
I don't know what it is for me, but for me, like the moment that sort of like put me in the trailer and I was like, oh, I'm all in, was when they shoot that guy out of the tree.
Yeah,
He shoots the dude out of the tree. I'm like, yeah, of course there's a guy in a tree. They're in a forest. Why would you not be in a tree? It's an ambush or something. But still, I've just
well,
never
he
seen
falls
that.
like
You see
30
firefights
feet.
in forest all the time. Nobody's ever shot anybody out of a tree, Tony. I'm sure
I've
that's
seen
not
it
true.
happen in
Somebody
action
shot somebody
movies
out of a
before,
tree.
but the way it was done was awesome. So we've got so many good movies coming out around Christmas. Just this has been a very good year for movies in general.
I think that a lot of years are good for movies in general, and people just complain about the bad ones and want to line. I was like, you know what? You can go see those bad ones if you want to. We don't have to go see those bad ones, Tony. We are not technically critics, so we like it's not our job to go see all the movies. And I wait for other people to see them, and if they're not excited, I'm like, oh, nope, not interested in that.
And the ones we take a chance on go to like the Thursday night showing or whatever is pretty much guaranteed hits. Although I was skeptical about Ant-Man, and it turned out to be awesome. So
Ant-Man did turn out to be awesome.
maybe, like, have you seen the Pop Funko thing? Like the toys I've got behind me, the collectibles for Ant-Man.
I have
That
not.
thing is one of the coolest I've ever seen. So I'm probably gonna have to end up getting that.
Oh, so you don't have the Ant-Man one yet?
No,
For
otherwise
those of
I'd
you
be
who are
showing it on
confused,
the
I
screen.
can't
I
see
was
Tony's
holding it
feed when we're
yesterday, and
doing
I was
this.
like,
So
"What's that?"
I was just explaining to people who may not understand our process. I actually can't see your feed when we're doing this. We're recording this separately, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't know what you're talking about. I have heard good things about the Pop Funko characters, though. I'm not a figurine collector, but
I've gotten all mine as gifts, so like it's a little bit weird. People just kind of latched onto that. I almost bought this one just as a gift to myself, but I'm like, I can't justify spending the money on something I won't use. Like I broke down and bought some Legos the other day because I want to do these like little dumb vignette things to post on Twitter, but that was mostly just because I wanted to build some Legos and I hadn't done it in so long.
I saw that they had a unmasked Darth Vader toy that looked pretty legit, and I kind of was like, oh man, I wouldn't mind having something like that. But again, I don't know. Like, I'm just not a collector of those kinds of things. I've got too much junk as it is.
Yeah, and then as you get older, you realize that $10 could go to a lot better other things. And
Yeah.
that kind of sucks sometimes. I sometimes miss having the impulse buys that give me something cool that makes me happy.
Well, as you
Like
get
just
older,
to
you
have
have
on the
more of those
shelf.
$10 though. So hopefully, anyway, if you're building, if you do better in life going forward, you have like, oh, it's not so difficult now. I could go ahead and just splurge on myself.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of that.
Well, right now it's like I have a mind to eventually buy a house and things like that, and every $10 counts whenever you're trying to save that much.
Oh yeah, I'm already there, Tony. I'm in a house. This is
You're
it.
like you're like 12 years ahead of me in life, even though you're only like 2 years older than me, or a
I,
year and a
I,
half.
I'm very fortunate. I cannot, I can complain, but it would be disingenuous. I'm very happy with my life, with the people in my life, with the job I get to do, with where I'm at. I mean, there are little things that crop up. I'm like, oh, this is annoying, but like every single day, I try to remember to be thankful because the interesting thing about thankfulness is you generally tend to forget how great you have it just because you've had it great for so long. I mean, we don't think about, I mean, just, living here in Florida, I don't ever think about air conditioning until it's not there. And, I just try to remember those things that I have and I've had for a long time and just think about how fortunate I am to have those things and how much it would suck if I didn't.
Yeah,
Um,
especially because you got like just a good strong family, you got all sorts of good stuff going on.
yeah, and it's really important, I think, to remember to be thankful for the little things, for the, and maybe not even technically little, but things that you just eventually start to take for granted, and to realize that you didn't, there's no reason why you had to be born in a nation where you had, the opportunity to get those things or the access to those things. And so I think it's important to be thankful every day, not just on Thanksgiving, although
Yeah.
Thanksgiving's a great reminder. But
Well,
I
Thanksgiving
try
is
to
just
think
good for
about
all
that
sorts of reasons.
fairly frequently, just like, man, I'm so lucky and blessed to have all the stuff that I have. I'm it's wonderful. It's a great life for me.
Oh
So
yeah.
cannot be
Plus, now
negative.
we're professional writers, podcasters, and creative people.
Yeah,
We're pretty much everything. Like you can't really give us one title for any of this stuff.
we do. I
It
gotta
really
say, yeah,
is.
there's a lot of things. Starting this, I thought we would have more. I thought, oh, there's gonna be so much time to do what we want to do, and then like, I mean, we do more stuff now. But it's just so difficult to. I've got kids at the door. They're yelling, interrupting my podcast. In completely unrelated news, I did want to mention the video that me and Joseph did, where it's actually a video series we're putting out, where he's teaching me how to play Dwarf Fortress. Have you played Dwarf Fortress at all, Tony?
No, I've heard about it constantly. Like it's basically, I know that it's mostly like text graphics and stuff. It's nothing that's really crazy, like high graphical stuff. It's been around for a long time, but that's about all I know.
I don't understand how this game has become so popular. I understand the appeal to a certain extent, but it's one of those things that's in the cultural vocabulary, and I don't like. How are so many people playing this to the point where it's a thing? A thing that people actually know about and talk about, like, oh yeah, Dwarf Fortress, man, you gotta watch out for them cats or whatever. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how so many people have gotten into this game. I'm not hating on the game. Again, it's a fine game, but it's so like obscure and difficult. I mean,
You'd
it's
think it'd be more of a niche thing than so broad in the
and I
gaming
guess it is
culture.
niche. I mean, it's not like Halo where everybody has played Halo and knows about, but it just seems like it's in the common parlance. Maybe because it's so hard and so obscure, like that they've made it so difficult that like that's the appeal that people talk about. Like, oh man, did you hear about Dwarf Fortress? It's so difficult.
It's like
Uh,
the Dark Souls appeal.
I guess, except for with worse graphics. So it's got the same difficulty, but the worst graphics imaginable. I in our video I actually used a texture pack, so it looks a little better. Um, but it's just a weird thing, but so complex too. Beneath all those like bad graphics, you can go and like just read the histories of the places where you're at and like find other towns, and all of your dwarves have like backstories from where they came from, and the relationships they'll develop, so you can go and like just read their biography basically about like this happened to this guy, and he's not feeling happy because he can't I don't know, play with his cat or something. um and it just goes into so much detail, and yet it's so I mean, it looks so simple. It's a very weird approach to a game to be that granular, and yet that's like That just the graphics, man, the graphics. I can't get over the graphics. They're hard to deal with.
Yeah, I know I'm going to be dealing with that soon enough. Joseph is going to torture me with it.
So if you guys are interested in finding out what that's like, but maybe you don't want to dive into Dwarf Fortress, but you want to know what that experience is like, go check out that video because
Yeah,
it's pretty
and
cool.
go to our YouTube channel. We need more likes, more subscribes, all that sort of stuff. And if you've never watched the video podcast, we've got new cameras. Things are looking better. Right now, I am very squinty, so I apologize for that. But, we got it's just looking good, and Al puts a lot of work into putting little overlay things, and it's very funny. It's got a different dynamic to it than just the audio podcast.
Yes, although that is certainly a fine way to consume our stuff. Podcast I really like recently went all video. They cut the audio part entirely out because I guess they didn't like their potential to monetize it. And I was like, I'm super bummed. I couldn't deal with it, Tony. I was like, every once in a while I'm able to watch them, because I'm here at my desk occasionally, but I want to be able to listen to stuff while I'm running and things. And if it's mostly audio content, you don't have to have video. I don't understand why they don't. Anyway, not my place to criticize other people, but definitely we appreciate all of you audio listeners, and I am certainly prefer to consume the podcasts I consume that way. So you guys are all awesome.
It's hard to just let that dominate your entire field of vision and just do the video podcast sometimes. So I totally get it. Like, I love doing, like, if I'm driving and I don't have a podcast, it's like really irritating to me. Just because normal radio is just crap compared to podcast now.
So thank you guys for listening. You can get all of the content we've been talking about at humanechoes.com. There you can also help to support us in our podcasting endeavor. If you go to the subscription link, forgot what it was called there for a second, Tony.
Yeah, the PayPal link on the right-hand side, you can subscribe to us. There's going to be some really cool changes coming up with the way we do subscriptions and some kind of new stuff. But for now, the PayPal link is the number one way to support us. You can make a one-time donation, or you can subscribe for $1, $5, or $10.
And we really appreciate those who support us, and we appreciate you guys listening. Next week, we're going to change pace. No more Chinatown, no more downer stuff. Weird Al Yankovic's one and only movie, UHF, a work of cinematic genius, Tony, that is completely underlooked. If you guys haven't seen this, I believe it's on Netflix. No, I'm sorry. It's on Amazon Prime. Is where if you have the Prime streaming service, you can check it out there.
And while we're talking about Amazon, one last thing about the site. If you go to the link for this particular podcast or any of our other podcasts, or just go to the right-hand side where you see Al's books and Joseph's books, click on that, go to Amazon, and if you buy anything, it will actually give us a cut. It doesn't have to be our stuff, although if you want us to double dip and be awesome, you'll buy Al's book, What the Dog Saw, or The Mulch Pile. Yeah, just go to Amazon, do that. It gets us a nice little cut.
Yeah, the Amazon affiliate money is super helpful, and we know you're shopping at Amazon, so why not?
Yep. Anyway, UHF next week. You guys should watch it. Tell us what you think. Send us questions about it. Join us in the Weird Al action.
Not me. Not this Weird Al.
Yeah.
The other Weird Al.
So you're pretty weird, Al.
Bye, guys.
Bye.